All right, welcome back to another episode of the Kitchen Table Podcast, where business gets done. I'm your host, Ken Baden, and today I'm here with Saahil Mehta. Saahil, who's not in Dubai, actually in New York, from Dubai, currently residing in New York.
Yeah, I'm just here for a little bit of time. I have a TED Talk coming up next month, so decided to spend a few weeks here before the big day.
That's awesome, man. So when is the TED Talk?
That's actually February 5th. That's
Awesome.
when that's the live version. I guess it takes a few months before it comes online.
Yeah, typically. I've always wanted to do one, man, so I'll have to check that out. That's awesome. Do you know what it's going to be about?
Sure, it's the title is actually it's the abridged.
Are you allowed to? 'Cause am I taking something by?
No. It's already published, so it's okay. The abridged version of the title is "How People Pleasing Almost Cost Me My Life."
Oh, wow. Well, people pleasing almost cost me my life. I'd like to dive deeper in that. But before we do, because that sounds like a really interesting story, just as we always do, tell us a little bit about, because I know you're an accomplished entrepreneur. For those who don't know you, I know you that you're a multi business owner, and you also work with other business owners and help them because you've been there, done that, had so much success. Which you must, because living in Dubai is not cheap, nor is it traveling frivolously to New York. So can you tell the folks at home, the entrepreneurs that are listening, or the prospective entrepreneurs that are listening, sort of just kind of how you got into the diamond trading, the hospitality industry, and made the money that you made to then, and the experiences you've gained to be where you're at, helping other business owners?
Absolutely. So look, I run, effectively three businesses, and the diamond business is I'm second generation. My dad started that business. He was actually an employee.
Wow.
He was an employee somewhere, and I actually thought he was a partner in the company because growing up, the way that he would operate, it was like it was his own company. And so every time he brought clients home, and I got exposed, and I went to visit him in the office, I just thought he's one of the partners. But little did I know, and when I grew older, that he was actually an employee. So when he reached the retirement age, he said, retirement, this thing, that's not for me. I need to work. It's my passion. I love what I do. And so he started his own company at the age of 54. So for all those who are listening, going, I don't know if I can start a company after 30, absolutely you can, because he started at 54. Anyway, he was pretty much the captain of that ship, and I was supporting him. And then I started my own company, which was in the hospitality space, and that's been running now for about, what is it now? It's close to, oh wow, it's close to 17 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have the experience of both a first generation entrepreneur as well as a second generation entrepreneur. And I think that kind of is great because it really gives me a lot of perspective that I wouldn't have got otherwise. But what
Yeah.
happened was, along the way, the focus, and I'm going to be honest here, is I felt like a horse with the blinders on. They have them on, so you only look in that one direction, and they don't get distracted. Well, it's all good when you're focused and you're focusing on the right things. But in my case, all I was focusing on was wealth creation,
Mm.
and my dad as well. And so when you focus on only that, it's not a bad thing, by the way, but you have to understand at what expense. And so I've reached the age of 36, and I'm kind of looking at life and I go, wow, I've hit all the boxes. I've checked everything that I thought was my definition of success as a 20-year-old. I had a net worth of seven figures, living in a nice house, married, kids, driving a Porsche, nice watch, no personal debt, traveling the world. And you'd think that I'd be jumping up and down with joy. Like I'd just be like, wow, this is the best day of my life. And this life is couldn't get any better. But I was like, yeah, it's great, but I don't feel that sense of joy and emotions that I thought I would be feeling. And that got me concerned. I said, am I just being an ungrateful prick? Like, am I, should I not feel gratitude towards this amazing life that's been created thanks to all these wonderful people around me and the hard work that I've put in? But what I realized, Ken, is I was living a definition of success that was inherited. It came down from a combination of what my parents wanted, what society was telling me is success, what social media was saying, what the educational system was telling me. And granted, there were some elements of that definition that I agreed with, but it wasn't my definition of success. And so even though I had these things, my health wasn't that great.
Mm.
I was constantly bloated because of inflammation, waking up with a heavy head, blocked nose, very lethargic. I would have those extreme lethargic moments every now and again where I would literally just fall asleep. And I kept thinking that's normal. But you know what? I tell people now, if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And then coupled with that, my relationship with my dad was okay. There were definitely some good points, but there were many things that were just being shoved under the carpet. And when things did surface, it would usually be a blow up. And I would have those similar experiences with my wife as well. That's not normal. It's not normal. So I realized that I was so focused on just the wealth creation that what did I do to these other areas of my life, which are so-called priorities, right? I mean, so many business owners I speak to nowadays, they tell me, yeah, my wife, I mean, not my wife, my spouse is my priority, or my family, health is my priority. And then while I'm working with them, after 6 months or 9 months, I'd say, yeah, I don't know if that's really true, because your actions don't match what you're telling me is a priority.
Right. You say that, but your actions don't say that.
And that's what was going on with me. And so I started to ask myself, well, okay, if this is not my definition of success, let me start on this journey to figure out how I can get my definition of success. And also, I realized that, look, we're all climbing metaphorical mountains. And I was just carrying a lot of baggage with me. I wasn't addressing things. There was all these confrontations in my life that I was just shunning because I said, I'll get to it later, or I wish it goes away. People will probably forget about it. I'll forget about it. But the reality is it doesn't go away. It's like that T-shirt which is on the bottom of the pile in your cupboard. Just because you don't see it often doesn't mean it's not there. And every now and again, when you're cleaning the cupboard, you're like, "Oh my God, it's still there."
Yeah.
So it came time to face things, Ken. It came time to face reality, and figure out what success meant. And that just springboarded me on this beautiful journey, which was filled with, oh my God, ups and downs. I mean, when you're climbing a mountain, you've got the peaks and valleys, and you have to go through them, right? That's just life. It's never going to be a rosy journey all the way up. But what I can tell you is that when you do face the fears, rather than going back into your comfort zone, what I started to achieve was better health, better relationships. And even though I work less now in terms of number of hours, I'm actually getting better results. Wow. So I wish I knew this earlier.
What? Do you mind if I ask how old you are now?
I'm currently 46 years old.
Okay. So this was, what, about a decade ago when you had...
Yeah, it was exactly a decade ago. Is when I was 36.
So 36, having a realization that your definition of success, and we've heard this many times, by the way, haven't we? Like, in terms of folks thinking that, oh, if I just had this, this, or this, and then they get whatever this is, and they're like, well, I'm not happy, right? And it's putting, I suppose, I mean, would you say that's just an instance in putting your happiness in stock in things, material things? Is that the moral here, and that you were neglecting the things that most folks the traditional things people would suggest to make you happy, family, loved ones, relationships? Like, is that what was being sacrificed that you ended up reinvesting in? I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, look, I mean, funnily enough, I was just speaking to my co-author for my next book, and we were discussing the chapter which was on comparison and self-judgment. And I realized, because there's some similarities in with what I was just speaking about just an hour ago to what we're discussing now, and that's if I compare that, I will get happiness, it's that common disease. When I get this, whatever this is, I will be happy, right? But that means that I'm not happy now.
Mm.
Because in my mind, I've said, in order to get happiness, I need that my company has to double in size. I need to be in more states or more countries. I need to have a bigger house. I need to have a better car. Does that mean that what you have now is bad?
No.
No. Actually, what you have is, I mean, shit. I sit on a foundation, on a board for a foundation where the people that we work with every day, they're making a decision between, I have enough money, I just have enough money to choose between healthcare, food, and education for my family. How am I going to divvy that up? And I want to ask the audience, have you ever had to make that decision, that is it healthcare, food, or education? I doubt it. I doubt it. So we have so much. We are so fortunate. And I realized that, and I said, if I only think that happiness will come from something more, it means that I'm not happy with what I have now. But what I have now is beautiful. Why am I not happy? And my mentor, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's writing this next book with me, and top executive coach in the world, he's always telling the people he works with, he goes, "Be happy now." It's so simple. Just be happy now.
Just do it. That's it. That's the advice. Doctor, what was his name?
Marshall Goldsmith.
Marshall Goldsmith. Yeah, I was going to say it sounds familiar.
One of his most famous books is "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Think I've heard of that. What is your book, Saahil?
So the book that I have right now, which is this one, "Break Free: A Guide to Decluttering Your Life," which really talks about what I learned along this journey, and I share it with other folks. The next book, which I'm writing with him, is and it's targeted for business owners. It's define success on your terms, right? You start with that, and we share the framework on how you can start defining that for yourself. And once you have that definition, you get more clarity, because now you're making decisions that are in line with what you feel is success, not what someone else is telling you. And once you have that clarity, as you're climbing your metaphorical mountains, the next thing is, what behavioral traits of yours are getting in the way of your own success? So we've interviewed over 100 business owners, and so it's not just my opinion or Marshall's opinion, it's the collective data from over 100 business owners from around the world on what behavioral traits are challenging them from reaching the next level. And then we've gone ahead and interviewed them and got their stories, and all that's going to be shared in the book. And once you know that and you can relate to some of them, you'll have the antidotes. But then we also talk about, which is the part 3 of the book, is momentum. Like, how do you ensure you keep taking a step forward in the direction you want to go in life on a daily basis? Because everyone, no, sorry, I shouldn't say everyone, but the former version of me and many other business owners, they're like, I want to write a book. And it just seems like this huge mountain that they have to climb, and it's too much. And then I say, well, forget the book, write a chapter. And if that's too big, write a paragraph. And if that's too big, write the first sentence. Just break it down into something you can do on a daily basis, because that action you take every day, it's that consistency that's going to make the difference between good and phenomenal.
I almost wish you wouldn't have said that, because I feel like you're pointing directly at me, because I've had on my vision for 2 years now to write a book, and I've checked quite a bit off. And I had, oh man, what is his name? Last name Shin, and wonderful guy, author, also came on the podcast. But we connected, and he was promoting his book, and I mentioned that I was not writing a book, thinking about writing a book, thinking about, but I've been I already know the topic. I've even typed some things up, and he's texting me quite a bit. And he told me he would in the podcast, like, stay with me and like push me. And he has been texting me like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. Like, you write anything yet? You write anything yet? That's a good way to grasp it. Like, for me, you might recognize this in some of the entrepreneurs that you work with, but it's like, I can't sometimes conceptualize something so simple. Everything has to be so complex, and like, I've got to have all of it figured out in its entirety, every chapter, everything. And it's like, all I can see and visualize is like what it's going to take to write the entire book. I can't almost conceptualize, like, just write a sentence. Like, that seems almost silly, you know what I mean? But it really is likely breaking it down to something so simple like that in order to get it done. What would you suggest? I mean, that simple, just write a chapter, write a sentence in order to.
Yeah, and look, I love what you just said, because it's almost like you have this accountability partner. It's someone who's agreed voluntarily to hold you accountable to what you wish to do. And a lot of people, they look at me and they go, "Oh, you're so disciplined." And I go, "Yeah, I probably am more than the regular Joe. However, I know my weaknesses. And so wherever I know I have a weakness, I have someone holding me accountable, because I know if they don't, then I probably won't end up doing it, because I'll find every excuse possible not to get it done. I know myself. And so there are people that I literally pay to hold me accountable, because if I don't, I know it's not going to happen, because I don't have the strength in me to do it on my own. So I'm honest with myself.
Yeah.
Right. I know it's a weakness, but I know it's important to get it done. So I have an accountability partner.
Are these coaches that, I mean, I don't mean to call them like, but executive coaches or coaches that you're paying like, hey, or is that not the right?
Look, it could be an executive coach. It could be, I mean, this is a funny story. My co-author, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, he came up with this concept called the daily questions. So it's a set of 6 questions that he has to answer. And it could be more questions, but it's a minimum of 6 that he answers every single day. Even though he came up with this method, he still pays someone to call him up every single day at a particular time, answer those 6 questions, record it onto a spreadsheet, and email it to him. Now, he's not accountable to that person, meaning it's not his mentor, it's not his coach, it's not a business partner, it's not a friend. It's just, like you can hire someone on Fiverr.com, or just some random person, right, who you're paying to just call you up and record what you say. They're not judging you or anything. But just knowing that he has to answer somebody, one, it keeps it front of mind because it's happening daily. And 2, it almost feels embarrassing, even if you don't know the other person that well, when you have to say, "Ooh, actually, I didn't do it today."
Yeah. That's good, man. That's actually smart. That's it. He came up with that specific framework for that, or?
Yeah, and look, I'm sure other people have different versions of it, but the way that he asks himself is it's not a yes or no question. It's, did I do my best to, and then you fill in the blank. Like, not judge people, because for him it's important to stay curious, and then he rates himself from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. So it's because you may have done it, but you may not have done it that well. So it's not binary, right? So you get to rate yourself. And I'm telling you, it's hard because you're looking at yourself in the mirror every single day, and you have to face the truth. But that's how you grow. Growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from discomfort. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself, because even me, I mean, why do I love speaking on stage? Because every time I speak, there's a little voice in my head going, Saahil, you've been talking about this to all these amazing, successful business owners, but you've been slacking in this area lately, haven't you? And then I start feeling inauthentic. I'm like, come on, you better start doing this again, because otherwise stop saying it. So that's why I love podcasts. I love speaking. I love sharing things publicly, because then it's almost a way to hold myself accountable, because I've said it to the world and they're watching me. And if I don't do it, I'm going to look like a real schmuck.
I'm going to teach you how to be accountable, and you're just the least accountable person ever. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I would be curious. So this gentleman, Mr. Goldsmith, is your mentor, but you obviously have had a huge growth for the last decade. And I can notice, I can't see you from shoulders up, but you look like you obviously take your health and fitness very serious. And I'd ask too, obviously we don't have, how can I say this or frame this? It's not just your health journey, but it's not a blanket statement. Like, what did you do just to change everything in the last decade? But I'd like to hone in specifically, I suppose, on what you learned that you then pass on to the folks that you're currently working with, because you mentioned that what you're truly passionate about is working with business owners now. And can you kind of elaborate on how and what you learned through your experience over the last decade that you now pass on to them?
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. Look, it starts with this. I mean, I find it's very important to have a community of like-minded people. And so in my case, there's an organization, for example, that's called Entrepreneurs Organization. And they had a local chapter where I live in Dubai. And so I joined this chapter because as a business owner, I feel lonely.
Yeah.
I can't speak to my employees. I can't tell them I mean, yes, I'm vulnerable in front of them, but not with everything. I share enough that they know I'm human, but not everything, because they might just run away. But then I feel alone. Like, who do I talk to? And if I talk to some of my friends, maybe they'll judge me. I'll feel small. I might feel insecure. But when I joined a community where there was a safe space and where part of the ethos is no judgment and not to advise others what to do, but just share experiences, I got to learn that I'm not alone. There's so many business owners that are facing the same struggles as I am. And then when I joined this community, I realized that if I look at my normal day, the previous version of me, I wake up, get the kids up, get them ready for school, drop them, work out, have breakfast, go to the office, work, quick lunch, somehow fit it in, work, barely make it home to put the kids to bed, have dinner with the spouse, find some time to interact with the spouse, maybe parents, maybe friends, go to sleep, wake up, repeat. That was my life. Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, if I don't invest in myself on a daily basis, how do I expect to grow? How do I expect to become a better version of myself?
Wow. Yeah.
And so I started taking time out in the mornings, because for me, that's what works best. I can be consistent with it. Evenings could end up being a social event, a client dinner, maybe a kid's performance, lots of things can crop up. But the mornings are free for me. So I allocated time to myself. I invested in me. And I came across this really good book called The Miracle Morning by Hal.
Yes. I love that book, man. I just re-downloaded it on my, I read it and I listened to his podcast, and you know what? One of the things, and I'll even tell him myself, man, one of the things I share a lot, it's like I have my morning routine and I journal and I use his, I'm committed to maintaining unwavering faith that I will, blah, 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 blah. And I use his whole format just because I like the format, but I haven't done it and I haven't been doing it all year, but I talk about it. And every time I do, I'm like, damn, I gotta do that. I gotta get back on my routine, man. And I'm like, otherwise I'm gonna feel like an asshole, excuse my language, telling people to do this. But the irony is I'm telling them to do it because I know it works, and yet I'm not doing it because I get caught up in hustle and bustle, or sometimes I'll get on autopilot. So that for me has been a recent, that's why I just re-downloaded it, because I'm like, dude, look, I really need to lock in, get back on my routine. Granted, I did just have a 4-month-old daughter. So that just,
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, she's adorable. But this is our first child, so it's all been now we're to a point where okay, I think I know I can get a routine in. I feel confident to where at least somewhat we got a nanny. We got a little bit of a feel for this to where I think I can get some morning routine back in and start doing things. So that's what I'm doing. But it's so funny you say that. I love that book. I love Hal. But I have not been doing it. So please continue, by the way.
And look, sometimes circumstances in life, this is, I call it a temporary blip, right? Yeah. This is a sacrifice you made, but you made it for something that's very important, which is your firstborn. I mean, I remember my firstborn and the second child. That was my biggest priority at that time because they really needed both of us. Now they're in a rhythm and they don't need us as much, so I can allocate more time to these things. So of course it's situational. Um, but coming back to it, he gave a beautiful framework, as you just highlighted. And although I don't follow his framework 100%, because I find that it's a great place to start, but you need to eventually get your own rhythm. So I found the parts that worked really well for me, and some of the elements didn't really impact me that much. So I said, let's forget those and focus on the things that make a difference. But basically, I've invested time in myself. I have a greater level of awareness. I have a greater level of self-reflection. And now I'm thinking about things and so I feel I'm more proactive in life. And as a business owner, things keep coming and you will be reactive. We all know that. But I was reactive all the time before I felt, and a little bit of being proactive. Now the tables have turned. It's more proactive and less reactive. And so I'm really designing a life that I wish to live, as opposed to letting life dictate how I should live. So the morning miracle was a huge plus point in my life. So I always tell people, start by just taking time out for yourself, right? And that's a great book to read, by the way. It's a very easy book. I think you could finish it in a couple of hours. It's not even that long a book.
The Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An exercise I also tell people, which they can do, which if they can't take time out in the morning yet, this one you can't make an excuse, because it literally needs 3 minutes every day. Now, if you can't allocate 3 minutes to self-improvement, we have a problem and we need to talk. But 3 minutes in the evening, ask yourself the following two questions. The first question is, what drained my energy levels today? Write it down. And it doesn't have to be one thing. If it's two things, three things, four things, just write them all down. And that's it. Just write it down. There's nothing else you have to do with it. But we don't want to end on that note, because it's not uplifting. So the second question is, what raised your energy levels today? And just write that down as well. Now you keep doing this day after day after day. And then after about a week or maybe 2 weeks, go through the pages and see what's repeating itself. See if you can sense any patterns, because what you may find is every time a certain type of situation occurs, it's draining your energy. And that's what I refer to as clutter, right? Because if it's happening again and again and again and it's not being dealt with, that means it's an opportunity to resolve it, because once you resolve it, it's going to stop happening. And the things that are happening that are lifting you up on a continuous basis, ask yourself, how can I do a little bit more of that in my daily life? So it's just these small steps. It's not writing a book. It's starting with that first sentence. Just take that first step and then take the next step. As a mountaineer, I've climbed several of the world's, high altitude mountains, and I don't think about the summit from day one. On summit day, oh my God, I'm tired. The oxygen is low. It's cold. It's hard. And if I think about the summit, which is hours away, I feel like shit. So I just say to myself, listen, put your right foot in front of your left. And once I've done that, put your left foot in front of your right. And I just keep repeating that mantra in my head again and again and again. And assuming that Mother Earth allows us to get there, we eventually make it to the summit. But it didn't come from me just thinking about the summit. It came from just, all that preparation. And then during those toughest moments, it's just one step in front of the other. It's those, and that's what I tell people. Don't worry about the destination. Just start the journey.
Don't worry about the destination, start the journey. I love that. Of course, you're a mountaineer. It's like prototypical. Were you doing that when you were not taking care of your health?
When I was not taking care of my health, I did one mountain.
Okay.
And that was, so the first mountain I ever went up was, we went to the base of Mount Everest, which is about 18,000 feet. And my health was, again, how do I explain this? I had problems which were big enough that they caused pain in my life, but they weren't
Sure.
big enough to take seriously or go to a doctor.
You weren't obese or anything like that. You were just right. I think I'm getting a very good picture of exactly what. But
Yeah. And
You
actually,
had
that's a
to
terrible
follow-
place to be because you think it's not bad, but it is.
yeah, you're right. Actually, that is a terrible place to be. Like, oh, this is okay. No, it isn't, and it sneaks up on you. Is that what you would say that you most find yourself helping entrepreneurs with when they come to you, kind of getting unstuck in that area? Or
Yeah. So when people come to me, the first thing we do is we work on defining success from their perspective of life today. And I say that because, if you look at your life, and I'm saying a year ago because this is before you found out you were expecting a child, how you saw the world is different. Now that you have a baby, you see the world differently. So as you go through these milestones in life, your perspective is changing. It's not going to shift completely. It's not like you're a completely different human being, but you have shifted as an individual because now you're a dad. It's different. So I always tell them, let's find out what success means to you today. It may change in 7 years or a decade from now, and that's okay. But we need to know what it is today because you have to move in a direction that is resonant to you. Because if you don't, that's what's going to lead to regret. And the last thing we want is you to wake up one day and go, I should have done that. I should have spent more time with family. I should have pursued the hobbies and interests that I wanted to. Because now maybe you're 80 or 90 years old. You may not have the health or the ability to do some of those things. Right?
yeah, God willing, man. Yeah, you make it that far. Yeah, I think about that now, man. I'm about 5 years younger than yourself, and I'm like, man, I already had these plans. Like when I'm 45, I'm like, assuming God willing, we get there, right? Because we don't know we're promised tomorrow. But like, I don't know. I'm trying to. We should talk offline. But I'm finding myself very much experiencing because I'm always, we gotta go do this, and all this year it's all in to do this to achieve this, and then it'll be another thing. Like first it's pursuant to the business exit, and then that'll set us up. But then it's like. And then that's really just the introduction into what is then the second exit, which is the real money. And then that's in setting up for the consultative career and the, like kind of doing more of what you're doing because I want to speak more and talk more. And I've speak on some stages, but like, I got to do that now and prep for that. And it's finding a balance where it's like, hey, where in there is living life and making this like and enjoying it now because you never know, man, and getting to see your daughter and the things that make it worth it, the things that are pushing you to do these things.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about defining success for yourself, because once you define success for yourself, when you make a decision, you can then make it in line with your definition. And just to give you a sneak peek into what that looks like, in the world of mountaineering, you have the 7 summits. It's the tallest mountain on each continent. And when you conquer them all, it's like you've conquered the world. So the methodology that I've come up with is, what if you conquered your inner 7 summits? Right? So what are the 7 most important things for you? And you might ask, well, why 7? I don't know, 7 has a nice ring to it. Lucky number 7, 7 summits, 7 colors of the rainbow. I mean, it pops up in many areas of our life. Why not 3? Well, if I said 3, you know what everyone will say? Health, wealth, and relationships. It's too obvious. 7 makes you think beyond. Like for me, one thing that came up, and this surprised me, but it doesn't surprise me, is fun and recreation. So now, whenever I'm making a big decision in my life, I look at the 7 summits, and I've simplified this. We prioritize them. We find out which ones can be afforded to drop, which ones can't be afforded to drop. We go into a lot of detail. But I look at my 7 summits and I go, how does it impact my 7 summits? Is it taking me overall up these mountains? Or is it overall taking me down? And I realized there were decisions I was making that didn't take me up. And I said, well, why am I wasting my time in these things? I just need to say no. And by the way, as a people pleaser, saying no is not easy.
No. No, I could relate to that. I heard you say it in the beginning, and I was like, oh, I get that. I get that. Did you, and we're up against that, but what would be, we'll have to have you back on if it would be so kind to hear your story on that, actually. That's not what your TED Talk is about. Yeah, it is. It is what your TED Talk is about. Yeah, people pleasing, how it almost cost you your life. Which I could see because, and for me, even the dynamic of we're growing in business, and to your point, I want to be more, I like the friend approach, which I know is not what you're supposed to do, but I don't like the stuffy, I don't know, authoritative jerk. And you don't need to be, but like, I just like having fun, and you don't want to be friends with just every single one of your employees. It's not that you want to be friends, but you have to have boundaries. You know what I mean? And so that's been hard.
You can be friendly. You don't have to be friends with everyone.
13 Fatal Errors helped me with that, by the way, that book. I don't know if you've ever read that. That was a good one.
And then once they've defined success, which brings so much clarity, we then look at, well, what is the baggage that you're carrying in your backpack? And is that baggage serving you as you climb up these mountains, or is it just excess weight that you need to let go of?
Mm.
And so people generally are carrying a lot of weight with them that really doesn't serve them. And then it's about just getting rid of that load, because the lighter your backpack, the faster you're going to scale your metaphorical mountains. And ultimately, that's what we're all after. We want to scale these mountains because that makes us feel good and takes us more towards fulfillment and away from regret.
Yeah. Is this all yours?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I always say that this is a methodology, right? I mean, I'm a firm believer that very few things in the world are new ideas. They're usually a mashup of ideas, right? So I'm an engineer by education, and I believe that things have to be logical and easy to understand. They might be difficult to implement, but they need to be easy to understand. And so everything that I've put together is very logical. It's step by step. It makes sense. And I'm finding, a lot of success with business owners who are implementing it in their lives. Because ultimately, when you go through this, it doesn't just help you improve your business. It helps you improve your business, your personal life, you as an individual. So every label that you have, in your case, you're a dad, you're a business owner, you're a husband, you're a son, you're a friend, all those roles become better. Right? And then you're like, why didn't I know this before? I could have saved myself so much pain.
Yeah. Well, I like to learn the hard way. I don't truly like to learn the hard way. It's just proven to be my, I don't know, MO. But if someone wanted to pursue utilizing your help, how would they go about that?
The best place is to go to my website. And if you go to www.saahilmehta.com/success, so that's SAAHILMEHTA.com/success, you'll be taken to a page where you can enroll in a complimentary webinar that kind of kickstarts your journey to discover what success means, what baggage you're carrying, and how do you take steps on a daily basis. It just gives you that basic foundation. And once you're done with that, I invite you to set up a discovery call with me and we can chat further. But that's a great starting point.
Wow. Okay. Where can people, are you on social media, or people want to follow you and see all your mountaineering and your family, or where can everybody find you?
Yeah. I'm if you just search my name, you'll find me on social media as well, on most of the channels, not all. My kids always tell me that, Papa, I thought you said you're not so into social media. I said, yes, the work stuff is on social media. My personal life is not.
Right, exactly. There's certain things we got to do to brand, but I hear you. Awesome. So, guys, also your TED Talk coming up. I mean, that's on February 5th?
Absolutely. February 5th. And I guess about within 60 to 90 days after that, it'll come online.
Awesome. So you get the TED Talk. And then one last time, you have the book that's currently out, which is Break Free. Is that correct?
That's correct. Break Free, a guide to decluttering your life.
Awesome. Break Free, guide. So many different awesome things that you brought up, Saahil. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about you, man, but it's really hard for me to kind of mellow out, and I'm just getting you must have good energy, man. So I appreciate you coming on, and genuinely, thank you for tuning in from New York. And I know I guess you're going back. You and the family are all in Dubai?
They're in Dubai, absolutely, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a beautiful place. I've never gotten to go, but all my friends rave about it. So I'll have to look you up whenever I finally do.
Yeah, you have one more person to get in touch with next time you're there.
That's right, man. That's right. I'm sure we'll connect offline, man, because I'd love to just get to know you a little bit better and possibly even utilize some of the things that we've gotten to hear today. Thank you for providing value. So much really is what I've mostly just pure value-driven podcast, which is my favorite. I appreciate you pouring into our listeners. And speaking of which, one thing I always ask our new guests and the past guests alike, I stopped for about a year. I brought it back last year, about 6 months ago. If you were a quote to be remembered by, right? Your definitive quote next to your name, God willing, in the future here. We see on your, I don't know, whatever it is that you can think that if you had one quote to be remembered by, that would be that piece of advice for the future generation, what would that be? Of entrepreneurs, by the way.
Yeah. If your decision will take you to potential regret, think again.
That's probably one of the best ones. Usually, people are really quick with these, man. If a decision would take you towards possible regret, think again. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. All right. Saahil, thank you so much. Guys, make sure you check out his book, check out his TED Talk, check out it. And if you want to get in touch with him, we talked one last time. We'll put that up,
SahilMehta.com/success.
/success. SahilMehta.com/success. And Saahil, thank you again for coming on. Guys, we will catch you on the next one. Thank you.